You vote Ms. Dunbar? And I vote yes. The personnel agenda is approved. Next is the approval of minutes. We have several sets of minutes for approval. They are March 6, 2023, March 21st, 2023, April 3rd, 2023, April 19th, 2023, April 26th, 2023, May 1st, 2023, May 10th, 2023, and May 17th, 2023. Ms. Gibbs made a motion to approve all the minutes presented tonight. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, how do you vote, Mr. Scripture?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Liverman?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Dunbar? And I vote yes. The meeting minutes are approved. Next up is the consent agenda, and tonight on our consent agenda, we have 4 policies for adoption. They are 1610-7800, professional and staff development, policy 3101, dual enrollment, policy 4023-7233, education for pregnant and parenting students, and policy 4310, integrity and civility. Please note that all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Education and will be enacted in one motion. Motion to approve consent. Ms. Dunbar has made a motion to approve consent agenda. How do you vote, Mr. Scripture?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Liverman?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Dunbar?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Consent agenda is approved. Dr. Whisper, is there a reason to reorder the agenda tonight?
Yes, we would like to reorder the agenda so that our IDEA plan can be first by Ms. Jennifer Mason, followed by Mr. John Barath with our needs-based grant review.
Okay. Thank you for those notes. Next up is our public forum. The purpose of the public forum is to afford the public the opportunity to address the board in 3 minutes on matters related to policy or general concern. The board will listen and may ask questions to try to understand the matter being presented. As a general rule, the board delays discussion and/or decision until a later time. Since this is the only time on the agenda that the audience may participate in the board's meeting, if any person wishes to address the board, she or he should make it known at this time. Please remember that no person addressing the board may refer to a student or employee by name, as they are protected by law from such and may only be discussed in closed session as governed by board policy and commonly recognized practice. There is a name. Okay, Mr. Mixon, we recognize you for public comment.
Oh, yeah, I just signed it.
Oh, you just signed it,
Yeah,
okay.
let me just say something real quick.
Okay,
My email address is on there.
okay, would you come up to the podium, please, to address us? Thank you. We're glad you're here.
I just signed it and it said sign here.
Okay.
But my email address is on there, just to let you know that I'm a member of the Concerned Citizens of Carroll County. And if you have anything that's, new that you might need to put out some information to the public, I appreciate it if you send me an email real quick. And we have our meetings the second weekend every month, so we can put some information out. And since we don't get a newspaper, sometimes we're not getting the information that, being put out. So just another way to get the information out. That's all about that.
Thank you, Mr. Mixon, and thanks for letting us know about it.
And welcome back, everybody.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board this evening in public? Okay, hearing none, we'll keep moving on. Next up is commendations, awards, and presentations.
Okay, hello everyone. I would like to introduce some new faces to Terrell County Schools, as well as we have some promotions within our school district. So I would like for Ms. Narissa Kunzalon to please stand. Ms. Kuntalan, she is from the Philippines. She is one of our international teachers this year. She's been teaching for over 13 years. She enjoys teaching here for Terra County Schools, as she actually teaches science for the high school and middle school. And her hobby is cooking, and she loves to eat at home. Mr. Gail Kunzalan, the husband, from the Philippines, he has years of experience as well. He's also teaching science at the high school as well as the middle school for us. They have 2 children with them. One is in the pre-K program, and the other is 10th grade. So they have their family with them as well. And Mr. Kunzalan likes to eat at Chick-fil-A. Oh, a first football game, okay. All right, Ms. Ruth Spencer. Ms. Ruth Spencer is our health science teacher at the high school. She is passionate about medical field and helping students learn about different aspects of the medical field. She enjoys fishing, and she is one of our beginning teachers. So tomorrow when we have our new beginning teachers program, make sure you bring a laptop, okay? Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Andrew Knott. Mr. Andrew is from Edenton. He is our new assistant finance officer, which is a position that was now placed into the finance office, kind of a little bit part of HR. But he has experience in banking, accounting, and auditing. He's also taught the business courses for other CT programs in other school districts. He enjoys watching old movies, going to the beach with his family, and watching the NC State basketball team. Thank you for being part of that. We do appreciate that. Ms. Tara Toller. Ms. Tara Toller has received her promotion as the high school's child nutrition manager position. So we do appreciate her. She's been in the school district for 3 years. And Ms. Toller, she's attended culinary arts competition. So we appreciate all of that. So make sure you bring some of that back too. Thank you. And Ms. Casey Council, she was promoted from the ELA teacher to the media coordinator for the high school. So she has been with Terra County Schools for over 15 years. And the main reason for being a media coordinator is her love for reading and wanting to model the same behavior to students of Terra County Schools. So, and she loves to do diamond painting. So thank you all for attending tonight. I appreciate all of you being here, being a part of Terra County Schools.
Welcome. Congratulations to those with promotions, and congratulations on joining the Terra County Schools family. We're excited you're here.
Thank you. We have one more recognition tonight. We would like to recognize the Terra County Schools Board of Education on the Silver Bell Award for whole board training. So we would like to present that to you all this evening, and thank you for always attending training and being a partner in education. Greatly appreciate your services.
My colleagues, congratulations, and thank you for doing our homework. Next, our in-service and instructional programs. We're going to begin with our IDEA plan with Ms. Mason.
You know which one it is, the first or second supporting document?
Yeah.
First.
Yes.
No. Other tab.
Should I just click on those?
Let me start it as a.
Yeah. So the IDEA grant
ensures children with disabilities a free, appropriate public education designed to meet their unique needs and ensure the rights of children with disabilities and parents are protected. And funds are used to develop comprehensive programs. So, what's that?
Read from the computer on the podium, so you don't have to do the look up at the screen again.
These are just the demographics for Terrell County. And one thing I wanted to highlight is the graduation rate is greater than 95%, which exceeds the state average. It just goes through the race and Hispanic origin and some of the demographics of the school. These are the continuum of services offered with inclusion, resource, separate, home hospital. And the goal plan is aligned with Terrell County Schools. This is the breakdown of the funds, the allotment from DPI, the carryover. School level expenditures. Columbia Middle School, EC salary teachers, Social Security, the total amount there. The elementary school, teacher salaries, and next steps are the grant award notification. Questions?
Thank you, Ms. Spencer. Are there any questions from the board for the IDA plan? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is our needs-based grant review with Mr. John Barat.
This podium or that podium? Do you prefer me at?
You can right there.
Okay.
You can read from this computer screen without results.
Okay, thank you. Short chat also. So a lot of the information in there is what you saw at the work session at your last meeting. However, just again, this is that's the old one. Do you have the new one open?
I don't have it.
Oh, it's not attached. Okay. So it's not to go through all 168 slides again with you. Let's just hit the highlights of this here now. So, let me go here so I can flip through it. Thank you. All right, so basically the needs-based grant program, it's been around since General Assembly adopted it in their budget back in 2016 for the issuance of awards in 2017 when it started. You all have gone through this procedure once already with the funding for the CTE Learning Lab building. But the funds are renewed every year with the budget to be put forth to help school districts that are in needs and meet certain criteria of them. So some of the, I don't know how to flip this. I numbered these, so I apologize. So the opportunities that we discussed here with the board was taking a look at the problems that I observed along with consultants at your existing school facilities and the high school, middle school campus being primary goal of doing something there. You have a history of flooding in the middle school building. The mechanical systems are need a full replacement at various buildings. We took, some of the board members were able to walk through the facilities with us. We saw firsthand some of the challenges in the spaces, not just maybe with the mechanics in there, but also the size of the spaces and conducting the instruction within those and the challenges that brought forth. So the opportunity is for an award request to do work on the campus that would unify the separate buildings into one building, demolish the buildings that need to be replaced, build new additions, make it a comprehensive single building campus for middle and high school. That would increase the safety on the campus with currently having so many separate buildings and pretty much open access as needed. And then it would also right-size classrooms for current instructional needs and for the programs of instruction that occur within them. So the funding opportunity through the needs-based grant is sitting right now, hopefully move forward once the budget's approved. And it looks like it's going to be approved just by the 10-day sit on the governor's desk at some point here in September. And which means the application process will open following that and close probably mid-October. The goal of DPI is to try to make the awards before Thanksgiving. So a quick turnaround is what they're shooting for. But there's criteria that has to be met. The good news is you meet the criteria in all the categories very well. And you have just one area that the criteria having received a past award. But for the award size you were seeking at the time to your need now, that shouldn't be an issue, hopefully, with the process. Just to remind you the way they rank districts, because they're looking at some in the neighborhood of $400 million being available to school districts. They've increased the award amounts. If you're going to build an elementary school, they increased that amount to 40 million, a middle school to 50 million, and a high school to 60 million. If everyone's looking for high schools, 6 to 7 new schools would wipe it out amongst all the counties in the state, the available funds. So the criteria of weighting is very important. And it's done in a manner of, as we talked before, golf, where if everyone shoots a 70 in the top 5, there's 5 people that are set there in first place. The next round's shots are 72, and those group are start at 6. So it's the same kind of ranking style as that they came up with to keep it fair. But the categories of it are very good for Turtle County schools. So again, the opportunities here to do the modernization, the renovations, some replacement of facilities, and the whole goal would be to work the program backwards from 60 million. The county's not required to contribute any funds. Some counties are required to match. Turtle County is not, and so as to not to create any undue burden onto the finances of the county nor other funds that the district has. Always work it backwards, and that will scope the work for you to do it. So it doesn't happen quickly. We talked about this last time. The process would be, if everything falls in place, to go and solicit for architects and engineers in November. But by the time you get done with the selection process, the design process, the permitting, the bidding, the construction, and the completion of construction, you're 3.5 years out. So this isn't a solution of that would happen and be done within a 1 or 2 year. It would be 3.5 years out to do it. So just quick highlights there on that part. And if there's any questions you have regarding this in the previous presentation, I'm happy to respond. And time is of the essence to make the request, because if you miss this window, you're out until next year's cycle. I will say DPI is getting a lot of push from tier 2 schools and awarding monies to them. So there's some obvious politics that will be at play through that process of push. However, I think your needs are a great candidate for this funding opportunity.
Are there any questions for Mr. Barak in regards to the needs-based grant application for a new middle and high school?
Make a motion to approve it, to proceed with the needs-based grant.
Ms. Robbins made a motion to proceed with the needs-based grant application. Is there any discussion?
Is there a budget presented with this?
I read not to exceed 60 million. Did I read that incorrectly? Did I just see that in the
Who's
slide?
gonna do the grant? What's the cost in getting the grant done?
What I have done with Dr. Roseborough and your board legal counsel is propose a contract that I will do the assessment of facilities, the reporting and the collection of the information and data from the county on their revenue history and trend, work with Dr. Roseborough and staff on your retention, recruitment, and student history membership, and assemble the grant to be presented and approved by the Board of Education, as well as present and approved to the Board of Commissioners to submit. Should you receive the grant and the funding for that to move the project on and begin it, that's when my fees would be attributed. Should you not receive the grant, there isn't any money due to my services.
And if we do, what is the fee?
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't hear
And
you.
if we do, what's the fee?
I apologize, I don't have that in this attachment. I think Ms. Yancey, it was one of the previous presentations that was attached.
We can get that for you. Scriptures, we can get the amount for you.
Okay.
Ms. Yancey can pull that for you. It's not to exceed a certain amount. I do know that.
Ms. Rath, what if we apply for the grant, receive the grant, however, as a board, we decide it's not the correct time for Terrell County Schools, and we decide not to move forward? What does that look like?
You have 5 years to spend the money. So if you choose to not start the project for months or a year, you can do that at that time. The awarded money is still available to you. So you have 5 years to spend 60 million. That's why the 3.5 years works within that timeline. But again, if it moves out, you have some flexibility.
What if we decide to go with a different person to manage the construction process?
You just pay me for the services to secure the grant.
And what, again, what is this?
That's something we can look up.
We're gonna need to, it's not in the documentation from the work session. I'm not sure.
In the
But
grant
for
fund,
general construction procurement consulting, contractor should be compensated at $125 per hour. And the total cost of the service is not to exceed $3,000. Is that the correct one, Mr. Perez, or is it?
that's a different one. That was for your miscellaneous projects that you needed some assistance on.
How many contracts do we have with Mr. Barat?
We only have one, but they merged everything together.
And the funds to pay the services would come from your grant award, it would not come from your capital finances.
Thank you.
In 5 years, Mr. Rath, you said we have 5 years to spend it. Does that mean
Complete
complete or start?
Complete.
That'll be interesting time.
Let's see. So again, what if we decide it's not the correct time, we were awarded the grant, and we decide we do not want to move forward because of inflation or whatever, what does that look like?
If you don't want to do the project at all, you would notify DPI of that and return any unused funds back to DPI to be awarded to the districts.
And then does that mean, what does that mean like for your contract since we still?
It would just be, if you receive the grant award, pay me for that service, and should the project be terminated, there isn't any additional fees due.
But if we don't fill out a complete application, there's no need to even concerned about what to do from.
I'm just worried about close school districts that exceeded their, close school districts that exceeded the 60 million and what the issues in our own community. And I don't think that, I don't know if we looked into that, I'm just. I'm worried about the implications potentially of exceeding whatever, yeah, the 60 months state. Well, Trump County doesn't match it, if we exceed 60 million, what is that gonna indicate?
If I may, part of the management process is building your budget and your scope of services to make sure everything stays within 60 million and does not exceed that.
Well, this is my concern, okay? We have hired Mr. Bratt to oversee a project. So far, that project's been hit with a massive change order, and nothing has been done. So far, the only thing Mr. Bratt has done is create new projects for us to pay him for. So I cannot vote right now to approve him to oversee another project when he hasn't finished this project yet. I mean, right now, I don't, in my good conscience, I can't vote to spend money. Even if it's grant money, it's still somebody's money. Because this project has not gone anywhere yet. The 2 days that they did work, he wasn't there. So I have not seen his track record of project management yet, to where I want to say, we're gonna saddle us with a $60 million project, and you're gonna be the one charged because you're the one writing. And I mean, so far, that's all he's done, is create projects for himself to get paid for. We've yet to finish any of these projects or even get going with it. We have a pile of dirt, $50,000 change order, is all we've got.
His projects was, are these things that we said we wanted for our school system, and he just helping us go forward with it.
But we're paying him to do it. He's finding things that he's getting paid to do these.
But when you write grants,
Why can't we
you
not
can
write our
write
grants?
in administrative costs within your grant, so that money goes to them, so that you can proceed on what you want to do. So everybody is getting what they want.
I
Only
understand
a
that.
small portion, but he's basically, to me, is doing what we have said we want to do for Terrell County schools. We've been talking about a new school system for years. New buildings, they're old buildings, we need new buildings. So now we have someone that says, let me look into this, and we can bring it forward. You just give me, out of $60 million, you give me $8,000.
This is the first time I have ever heard us talk about replacement of buildings. And I've been on the board now, this is 8 years. This is the first time we have
And I've
discussed
been
a
here
building
26
project.
years. It's always been presented that we need new school buildings. We were even talking about one time merging with Crest.
I remember that
Okay,
discussion.
so this is not something
But-
new.
But
It's
there was
something that's
also no
been-
talk of building a building at that time. That was simply just because of numbers. There's also been rumor that we need to merge with ICAL and build a school in the middle.
So you never heard conversations about old buildings.
I
A lot
I
of
have
these
not
buildings
heard
been
that.
here, I'm not gonna tell you guys my age, but these buildings been here since I was in school. Before, yeah, you got that. Before I was in school.
You just had a birthday.
And now you're saying we don't need new buildings, like I talked about.
That's not what I said.
Okay, let me hear it.
I said, I am not willing to put our grant online with a project manager who is unproven what we're gonna get out of our project manager. Whose only thing he has done so far is to produce new things to get paid for.
And is that because of Chesson?
I don't know, what is it because of? I mean, right now,
I mean, I'm
we've got,
asking
our
you,
project,
you
our
know,
project
that's-
hasn't gone anywhere. We got a pile of dirt,
What
that's it.
project hasn't gone?
The learning lab, that's all we've got.
And is that because of Chesson?
We have
Because of a lot of things.
we have a motion on the floor.
I'm sorry.
Did we not say that we could put in our grant? What he would be paid for
But what-
initially is to proceed with the application. And so if you want to make some kind of specification that he is not over the project, do that, but we just need to proceed with applying. And then you can get your administrator. We just need to proceed with the application to begin the process.
Back to the original question, what is the fee for the application? We still have yet to answer, what is the fee for this? Again,
It is.
this seems like, you know, a big mystery.
I apologize, I don't have connectivity here to pull it up, so I apologize.
Well, we're trying to pull it up, Mr. Correct, for you. Hold on a second. Do you have that?
I'm looking for it, my computer is slow. I was from
This one I thought was funny.
Intermission.
Is that a interlude?
If you allow me to step outside briefly, try to get better reception, I can probably pull it up.
You totally can do that. Whoever gets to it first.
Yeah, and it was metal building.
Yeah. No.
It's not, it just says that the provider is not to exceed the amount of 35,000. 30,000 for construction and 5,000 for post-construction. It says that the projects did not exceed 35,000. The school system agrees to compensate the provider in the not to exceed amounts noted for services rendered and accepted by the school system. The total payments not to exceed 35,000.
You found it?
I did.
Good.
Thank you. I apologize for that. So to perform the assessment, all facilities, to build the request based off of collecting information from, as I mentioned, the county and Dr. Roseborough and staff here, the educational capacity and growth of the district, program needs for each of the 2 schools, and presentations and public hearings required as preparation of it. The total is not to exceed 26,000.
Does that include the grant and everything?
That is the submission of the grant, the complete assessment of all facilities, the data collection, the review of growth for the county, finances of the county, district, ADM history, meeting with the principals and other staff, and bringing engineers to conduct assessments.
Is there a fee for the engineers to do their assessments?
They are part of that fee.
And if we don't get the grant, there's no cost to that.
Correct.
Brian, what was the date of that particular contract, so we can be sure that it's in our.
June 3rd.
There's a motion on the floor from Ms. Robin. Is there any other discussion?
So is the 26,000 just to write the grant?
No,
And
it's to perform the assessment of the facilities, detailed analysis of all the mechanical, plumbing, electrical systems, the size of the instructional spaces, and the adequacy of them, the history of operational maintenance of it, the collection of the information, as I outlined, from the county, the financial histories, tax assessments, revenue generation over the years, and also put the district on retention and vacancies, ADM history and forecast. It's on, and assembling everything into a request as to why DPI should award Turtle County Schools $60 million.
but that does not include the overseeing the project if awarded.
No, I'm sorry, what?
That does not include overseeing the project if awarded.
If awarded, that's not, that was just to
To write the grant.
perform the work to do that.
And remind me, when is that due?
Most likely, as soon as the budget's adopted, DPI is expected to open the window. Typically, it's about a 30-day window. So we're looking at about mid-October. Because their goal is to announce awards before Thanksgiving. Of course, assuming the budget moves along here, it's passed. Any delay in the budget will move that window incrementally out.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Rath or discussion on Ms. Robbins' motion?
What if the, one more question, what if the county commissioners decide, because they're the funding authority, they've got to ultimately sign off this, what if they vote no, and Mr. Brath has done all this work? We still owe Mr. Brath $26,000?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
If the commissioners vote no, because they're the funding authority, they have taxation, we don't, they have to approve this. What if they say no, we still owe you $26,000 for your work?
And that would be worked out through the legal contract, but I would assume so.
But we wouldn't move forward if we don't have the support of the commissioners.
Have they voted to approve this?
I don't know, because we haven't taken anything to them.
Yeah.
I mean, that,
I can't saddle us with a $26,000 bill without their blessing. I think this is being brought to us at the last minute to force a vote. I think that, we knew this process was gonna happen months ago. It's happened for, like you said, since 2017. We should have been looking at this a year ago if we wanted to move forward. But I think, and I don't blame Mr. Brath. If he's done all this work and somebody just yanks out from under me, I want my money too. So please don't get that wrong. If he's done work, he's entitled to money. But I'm scared to saddle us with that bill. And commissioners come in and say, we're afraid of the cost overrun on this as well. They could come up with, $7, $8 million if they had to do it. But the county doesn't have it. It ain't there. That's all I got on the clock.
Is there any other discussion from Ms. Robbins' motion? Ms. Robbins, Ms. Dunbar has made a motion to proceed with the needs-based application. Hearing no more discussion, how do you vote, Mr. Scripture?
No.
How do you vote, Ms. Livermore?
On the basis that we haven't shared with the county commissioners, and we're not sure where they are, that's where my vote's coming from. I do think we do need a building, we do need to work through that process, but I think we need to have a little bit more preparation, so, but no.
How do you vote, Ms. Gibbs?
So yes, that's something that we need.
How do you vote, Ms. Dunbar?
Yes. I think we need to just go ahead and
Due to the fact that we've not taken this to the commissioners and not heard from our governing body on facilities and their discussion on that, I also vote no. The motion to approve the needs-based application does not pass. Our next presentation is the CTV Learning Lab project.
Yes, and on this one, again, just to, Mr. Scripture, remind you and the board, when you brought me in on this project, it had already been designed, bid out for construction. Construction had already been awarded. And one of the items you mentioned is accurate, that when I reviewed the project, I noticed that there wasn't a geotechnical report with a construction project, and that's what led to the situation you were at. So, the original contract for it was $1.757 million. Previously, we presented to the board change orders in the amount of credits to do some value engineering to reduce the potential add for the soil revivification that had to occur. And included with that was the final ones that we did not have the final pricing from AR Chesanon at the time, but have since received them and reviewed them. The net, if should the board elect to approve all of the value engineering changes, the net cost is $27,371.76. So your soil reunification was $52,472. So just, we were able to cut that almost in half through some value engineering that did not compromise the instructional ability of any space or ongoing maintenance and care of the facility.
Thank you.
And so presented to the board is the request to approve the changes as outlined for a net add of $27,371.76.
Does the contractor agree to all of these?
Yes.
Is there any other questions from Mr. Barath in regards to these change orders? What is the pleasure of the board in approving the needed change orders for the CTE Learning Lab project?
I got a question. It says reduce number of power outlets and data ports. How's that, being this is a CTE lab, by reducing the number of outlets?
In one of the classrooms there was an abundant amount of power outlets and data ports around the perimeter. And that is not being, the room's not being configured in that orientation to have all the desks against the wall. They're going to configure it with the desks in the middle. And so those were all removed and they're going to drop data ports down to those desks in the middle.
Very good, thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the change orders for the CTE Learning Lab project?
I make a motion to approve the change orders for the CTE learning project.
Ms. Liverman's made a motion to accept the change orders for the CTE Learning Lab. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, how do you vote, Mr. Scripture?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Liverman?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Dunbar? And I vote yes, the change orders are approved for the CTE Learning Lab.
Thank you, and they should start seeing foundations being laid down and cut later this week and early next week. So finally, as everyone's served, we'll start seeing some equipment activity.
Thank you for answering that question. That was actually my next question, was when can we see movement with the sand?
Very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
The next item on our agenda is the code of conduct review, Dr. Roseberry and Mr.
Thank you. All right. So this summer, our principals met. We had a 2-day retreat where we worked on the code of character, conduct, and support. We wanted to be sure that our new code of conduct was inclusive of character and necessary supports that we needed to provide our students with. And so here in General County Schools, these are our 4 areas that we are focused on for the upcoming school year. We wanted to make sure we were aligned in this area of a culture of care and engagement, optimizing recruitment and retention, not only of staff, but also of our students, having a coherent instructional infrastructure, and using our data to align with our professional learning needs are. The state of North Carolina has implemented a new portrait of a graduate. These are the necessary skills that all students in North Carolina should possess upon graduation: adaptability, collaboration, communication, critical thinking, empathy, learner's mindset, and personal responsibility. Our new code of character and conduct and supports is very inclusive of social and emotional learning, with the focus being on making sure that our communities and our families and caregivers are integral parts of making sure that our students are successful in school.
So we're not looking at our discipline matrix just from a punitive standpoint, but we're looking at how can we provide supports for all of the students in Terrell County schools. And so sometimes you have to teach behavior, sometimes you have to make sure that you're being supportive to help students to self-regulate and to self-correct. So we'll be following that MTSS model for tier systems of supports, even when it comes to disciplining our students. This summer, we also went through training with Capturing Kids' Hearts to make sure that we are being more responsive in a more nurturing way. And right now, our schools are focused on this tier 1 supports of connecting with students, meeting and greeting them first thing in the morning, doing personal check-ins with some of our students who need those check-ins first and foremost, connecting every child to a positive adult in the school system, having a visual postings about expectations for learning and how we conduct ourselves in a daily basis in the educational setting, making sure our students have opportunities to talk to one another, not just sit and get and be talked at to, and providing clear instructions for our students and providing that opportunity for students to ask questions where they feel safe and providing those safety nets for them. And then also walking around the buildings as well as in the classrooms to be sure that they are supported. So we're shifting the mindset from having optimistic mindset and behaviors from adults and students instead of just looking at punitive behaviors. We shift our language from being more supportive and more friendly and things that we expect our students to have a right to. And just to highlight some of the ones that are up here is that we want to make sure our students all feel welcomed, respected, and valued for who they are. But they have the right to be educated in a clean, safe environment. And we should also be providing them with opportunities to serve on student council, advisory boards, so that we can get their feedback on how well we're doing as an institution of learning. So our principals have come up with 5 district-wide rules during our training, and so I'm going to have Ms. Richards to come up to talk about how we developed the code of conduct, give you guys a little bit of context on why we had to do some revisions and some refining of the current code of conduct, of what were some of the things that had to come into play to be aligned to our district policy.
So as Dr. Roseborough mentioned, with our new student code of conduct, character, and supports, it follows that MTSS model. And so as the veteran administrator, not in terms of years, but as I'm the principal that's left, right? I can share what we were tasked with, right, when I first came in. And so one of the things that we were tasked with as administrators was making sure that we were consistent across the board, right? Elementary, middle, and high school. So we were looking for consistency. Okay, so as the administrators, Dr. Twyford at the time, he gave us a few things that he had, and he said, I want all of you guys to get together, and then I want you to come up with this plan, okay? So when we're talking about being inclusive of our families and stakeholders, what we came up with was just what principals came up with, right? And it was what was gonna happen, right? We were gonna make sure we were consistent with the discipline that we were enforcing with the students. We didn't have parent input, we didn't have student input. It was just us 3 administrators coming up with what we came up with, okay? And that's no one's fault, that's just what we were tasked with at the time. But when you know better, you do better. So as we're moving forward with the MTSS model, we wanted to make sure that we had the input from all stakeholders. So Dr. Roseborough has met with student groups, our parent advisory, administrators. So within all of this, you have all of that input from your stakeholders, okay, in developing these things. And so during our leadership retreat, we were tasked with coming up with some district-wide rules, right, that all admin could live with, right? And what I mean by that is I wouldn't have an issue enforcing it, right? It's an issue or could be an issue at the elementary school, but at the same time, Dr. Tripp and Ms. Williams are going to enforce it at their level as well. But that doesn't mean it takes away what it looks like at the elementary level, right? Because if I have a kid that is in first grade and does the same thing that a high school student does, it's going to look differently, right? Because odds are my first grade student may not have been taught, right, the way to handle that or regulate their emotions, okay? So we still have that capability and will utilize that. And so during the leadership retreat, these were the 5 rules that we came up with that we said we could all live with and support and enforce at our levels, okay? So I'm not gonna read these to you, but you can see them here on the screen, and I think you would agree that these are things as adults we want to be able to ensure that we have in our school buildings, okay? So that we're not disrupting teaching and learning on a daily basis, okay? So we want to do what we need to do and keep the teaching and learning moving forward. Okay?
Question.
Oh, hold on just a second. We don't have public comment this time. Thank you. All right. And student attendance. One of the things that we want to make sure that, again, that we're focusing on with student attendance is not necessarily that punitive piece, right? We want to get to the root cause of why some of our students are absent. Okay, at the elementary level, it may be because their parents can't get them here on time for a reason, right? They may not feel comfortable putting their child on the bus, but maybe can't get them to school on time, right? So that's a conversation we're having with the parent to say, okay, this is how we can support you with this, okay? I know you don't feel comfortable about this, but let's see what we can work out together, okay? If Mary has been going through something and they can't figure out what the medical issue is, okay, what can we do to support that with you, you know, to support the family, right? Because it's very easy to think of attendance as, okay, somebody's just, their child's not coming to school, right? Or somebody's not sending their child. Well, there's a reason behind that, and we're here to support, not be punitive, not penalize. We're here to offer that support, okay? And so you can see here down at the bottom, it says the attendance committee will create a plan of intervention to address the absenteeism, recognizing good and improved attendance, providing early outreach to families of students missing school, and identifying and addressing barriers to attendance. That is what we're here for, is to remove any barriers that our students and our families have. But again, that comes with that open line of communication, right? And being partners in education. Right? So we have to pick up the phone. We have to call, right? You start that conversation with, I'm really not trying to pry your business, but I've noticed X, Y, and Z. We're here to support, okay? Okay, go ahead, Mr. I'm sorry, I'm just going right up. Oh, you nailed it. Dr. Oh, sorry, I had You got it, come on. It's all yours. Okay. Sorry, guys.
Since we had capturing kids' hearts training, I'm gonna be his support person.
I was hoping she was going to take it. I was like,
Okay.
all right.
Next time you won't be put together.
Great. One more slide, we're almost there. All right, so aggregating and mitigating factors. So obviously, middle school and high school, we have some disciplinary issues because that's just nature of secondary education. In these situations, when we ever do an investigation after a teacher submits a referral, we look at both parts, the aggravating circumstances, which is the misconduct, the child cost, and the mitigating circumstances, which are the external factors not belonging to the child himself. So whenever something happens, the child makes a mistake, the referral is written, and myself and of course Ms. Williams will look at the child and all witness statements, and those witness statements may be mitigating factors to why the child made this mistake, and we'll have a discussion on that. And those are the 2 points when we're looking at disciplinary actions. All right, so our disciplinary response cycle, it starts with our referral, then our accountable consequences, then our restorative practices, and then closing the loop. So whenever a child makes a mistake, that's the referral portion. The disciplinary action, of course, is the accountable consequences, whether it's, of course, like we had a few days ago, somebody, one of the football players made a little error in judgment and kicked the glass, broke the glass, and so obviously we have the accountable consequences. And then we have restorative consequence where the student is now paying off that debt to Terrell County Schools by cleaning outside the building for the next month and a half. Because that's the restorative practice, and everyone, the whole 8th grade today, and that's a conversation about that. Everyone knows not to kick glass at school. So, you got to do
Cleaning the window.
cleaning the windows, that's right.
There you go.
That's right. So closing the loop, we want to make sure that the next student is embarrassed about it, and he has made amends, and that's how it works. That's what you want. You want people not making the same mistake over and over again and respect the schools and state property. All right, so this is what our behavior matrix looks like. You'll see over here the level 1 consequences, what they are, 1A, 1A1, 1A2, 1B5, etc. right there down our consequences. We also have some disciplinary consequences and some restorative practices that we can select from to better help the child and close those loops and make sure that we're having those positive conversations that Ms. Bridger spoke about at the secondary level and the elementary level also, which is important because we want kids to want to come to school and make mistakes, we correct mistakes, we heal through the process, and they still continue on with their learning and move forward through Terrell County Schools. And I want to go ahead and just shoot to the elements. So you can see right here, this is the K-5 level. So you can see here that this is the elementary one that Ms. Bridges will use at the elementary school. And let's see if we'll keep going. And here's one for 612 that Ms. Bridges and I use. And you can see that although the codes are a little bit different here, threats, false, bullying, harassment, a little bit different on the codes versus what they'll have at the elementary school. Aren't there any questions from the board? Wonderful. Thank you all very much.
Are y'all gonna keep going though? I don't want to interrupt the presentation. Is that the whole presentation?
Unless you want me to go over the
Okay.
long-term suspensions.
No, you're good.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
my question is, we've talked a lot about involving and communication with families and the guardians. How does that fit into this referral? Like, what's that look like if, say my parents had to be called because I broke the glass in the window, how would that have happened? What would have happened with that?
Well, once the referral is submitted, ma'am, we go through, we look at both our aggravated circumstances and mitigating circumstances, we complete the investigation. Once we have all the factors and we've checked the video and we've spoken to the children and we've spoken to the adults present, then we'll go ahead and type up the whole narrative of the incident. Then call the parent once we've had all the accompanying evidence and have those conversations about what took place and happened. So that way the parent can get their child's story, the external side of what other people saw, and if necessary, we can show them, hey, this is also what happened. Here's a video of it, block kids' faces, and make sure everyone is understanding about the entire process. We don't want to leave anything up to them.
Okay, is that for majors and minors, or the parents get told, I know the secondary may not have minors and majors, but elementary does. Do parents get told right away about the minors also
So
as well?
it depends on what the minor
Okay.
is. And it should be documented in educator's handbook, right? And so at elementary level, students have to have 4 minors before it's put in as a major unless it's something egregious. So it just depends, right? So like I always tell my teachers to let parents know, right? Like if you've got an issue, we need to communicate. It may not be that first time if Johnny's just having a bad day, right? And Johnny just needs a moment. That's different than if it's like a constant throughout the day, then yes, they would need to make contact with the parent. So it just depends on what the minor offense was. But it would have to be documented in the educator's handbook that they made parent contact. And I don't just allow JoJo as a contact. Like, you gotta pick up the phone too.
And that's what I was looking
Yes.
for. So we, as parents, we can expect a phone call from the teacher, maybe at the secondary level, it's for the administrator, depending on what.
Actually, it's very similar to what
Yes.
Ms. Bridges
Okay.
said also. It's just that we'll put inside the teacher side of educator handbook, and the teacher may call, and we may not be notified of that, except when we check educator handbook, but if it's, as you said, a major referral, then obviously we'll get a call from the administrator after we, of course, conduct the investigation, but it's also all parts of that.
So only the majors come to us as administrators. Then if we get a major, then we go back and look at the history of the minors.
And then all this data is being collected in the educator's handbook to help make a
Absolutely.
better determination as the child goes on and grows and becomes productive.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for that clarification.
works. Any other questions?
So our next steps,
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am?
To the end.
So, sorry.
so just start right there.
Thank you, ma'am.
So the main point of our new code of character and conduct and support is that we're switching the discipline mindset from being punitive to restorative, making sure that we take that opportunity to teach our students how to behave and respond appropriately. Sometimes there are external factors, which are those mitigating factors that we have to take into consideration. I think in the past, we've only looked at the aggravating factors. From what I can tell with our discipline in the school district, we have had high numbers of discipline rates without really getting a complete understanding of what the student is struggling with and need the safety nets for. So we have now built in safety nets around certain behaviors to support our students. This is our student support services team. This team will be acting as not only as the attendance committee, but also the discipline committee, because there are times when families are in disagreement with a discipline issue, and our policy calls for a discipline committee to kind of hear those concerns, come up with a plan of support for the family, to help support the student. And we need to have a plan here at school when there are external factors that are impeding learning in the school. So our next step is terms of this code of character, conduct, and support is we will be reviewing it with all of our teachers. All of our families will get a code of conduct handbook to go home with them, because there's no mystery in what level of consequences actually on and what the options are in terms of the response to the discipline. But also sometimes families just want support. They just want to know, is it an opportunity for my child to go see the counselor? And can we try that? And we want the parents to be a partner in those decisions. So our next step is we want to conduct annual climate surveys of our families to see how well we're doing in this area, because this is part of climate for our students. We want to make sure that we get that feedback annually and make adjustments to the code of conduct, because in most school districts, you get a different student handbook each year. That's why it has the year on there, because districts have to make adjustments to the code of conduct, just like we just refined our former code of conduct to a more inclusive one to include the character and supports aligned to MTSS. And then in cases for appeals and long-term suspensions, we want to have that discipline committee in place. But I think the most important piece for our families to know is that it is part of our board policies, part of board policy 4302, that we will develop a discipline behavioral plan that consists of having a disciplinary committee for those students who are repetitive in nature of disruptive and disorderly conduct. We will have positive behavioral interventions and possible consequences that will be used. And third is we must have the parent involvement strategies in place. And that's also part of our new bill that's coming out called the Parent Rights Bill that the board will be looking at tonight at the first reading. And we'll be providing all of our families with more information about the Parent Rights Bill and what their rights are, and being partners with us in their child's education and making decisions about what their students opt into or opt out of. Okay, so this will all be inclusive of that work, and we are excited to share this information with families. And the student handbook, the student family and parent handbook, because that means different things to different people, will be in English and Spanish. One side is English, the other side is Spanish. So we will be sending them home to support our families in this effort and make adjustments as we need. Are there any questions?
Dr. Isber, I don't have any questions. I know we went over this during our work session, but I just wanted to commend you and the principals for putting this together. I appreciate how it overlaps from elementary, middle, and high school. I really think that's gonna help our community, our parents, and especially having different students at each building. So thank you all. I think this is awesome, and I love how it seems like we're all on one accord. So I appreciate that.
It was a lot of work, so thank you, principals, Ms. India, everybody that helped.
Thank you. This is being presented, and they would like for us to approve the code of character, conduct, and support. And this is required on our board of education policy number 4302. If you remember, that policy always refer back to the code of conduct, and we asked several meetings ago what that code of conduct was. So thank y'all for developing this and getting that done. So is there a motion from the board?
Make a motion to approve the code of conduct as presented.
Mr. Scripture has made a motion to approve the code of conduct as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, how do you vote, Mr. Scripture?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Lumberman?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Dunbar? And I vote yes. The code of conduct is, the character, conduct, and support is approved. Thank you again for your hard work. Next up is the CTE update with Ms. Tracy White.
I actually have got. There you go, you should have some. Actually have that piece down on this pile of stuff. Okay. I wonder why I haven't.
Well, good evening, and we're happy to be with y'all again to cover our pathways and programs. Just to review quickly before we get into the meat of it that Ms. White has regarding our exciting CTE pathways. What we're presenting tonight aligns with the vision of our strategic plan, and I highlighted college, career, military, or life goal attainment. Although we are in the early college, high school, college means many things. It does not mean just a 4-year degree. And we're trying to emphasize it's post-secondary training, so training beyond high school. And then our mission with it being student-centered instruction. And so everything we do hinges on that student's goals, whether it be any of those 4 areas, and what their future steps are, because we want them to leave prepared and taking with them credentials that they can go into the workforce, or if they do choose to go to university level. Basically, it splits into 4 different pathways we've identified. One of those is certainly they get a high school diploma and completing their college transfer associate degree. So that's what a lot of people think of when they hear early college, high school, college transfer, 2-year to 4-year programs. Then another pathway they might take is more of a focus on the CTE associate degree, and those are called associate in applied science programs. And those prepare them to go directly into the workforce with typically a 2-year training model, and credentials included. Then another path they might choose is completing their high school diploma and an applied science pathway. This is not a full degree. This would be something that might be a 1-year diploma, like perhaps welding, heating and air. Now some community colleges offer 2-year programs, some offer 1-year programs. So it just varies on how much they want to be credentialed in that area. And then certainly, if they complete a high school diploma and earn some workforce credentials, that is an accomplishment as well, depending on where they want to go. And you notice completion's highlighted in all of those. And so one thing Terrell County Schools wants to be is a county of completion. We want them to complete something and take with them beyond our campuses.
Okay, so I am going to walk you through. Unfortunately, I'm going to walk you through all of the pathways that we offer at Terrell County Schools. First of all, we'll start with agriculture education. We have 3 different pathways under agriculture. The first one is power, structural, and technical systems. That is our Ag Mechanic 1 and Ag Mechanic 2 classes. The students have the opportunities to earn credentials in just about every one of our pathways. In this one, they can earn in Ag Mechanics 1 in their OSHA certification, and in Ag Mechanics 2, they have the opportunity to earn a welding certification. For the second pathway, Plant Systems, we offer Horticulture 1 and Horticulture 2 landscaping for our students. The last one under agriculture is Sustainable Agriculture, and that we offer levels 1 and 2 in that. And in level 2, the students have the opportunity to earn a certified beekeeper certification. Under computer science, IT, and technology education, we offer 2 pathways. Adobe Academy is one. We have Adobe Visual, Adobe Video, and Adobe Visual, Digital, and Video. Under Visual, students have the opportunity to earn the Photoshop credential as well as Illustrator credential. Digital is all about websites, and they can earn their Dreamweaver certification. And video, they have the opportunity to earn Premiere Pro. Okay, so then under Family Consumer Sciences education, we offer the early childhood development and services pathway. They have the opportunity to earn, it's 3 different credentials. It's first aid, CPR, and AED. And also they have the opportunity to earn the NCEC credential, which is the early childhood education credential. Under trade and industrial education, we have 2 pathways. One is woodworking, with Woodworking 1 and Woodworking 2. Again, they have the opportunity to earn their OSHA certification in Woodworking 1, and in Woodworking 2, the WCA solid blade certification. They can take that anywhere. Public safety is a new pathway that we're offering. In Public Safety 1, the students have the opportunity to earn the Law and Public Safety Introductory Competency credential. And in Public Safety 2, there's 2 different credentials. One of them is the CERT credential, that is Community Emergency Response Team. So just like this past week when we had the hurricane, these students would have the certification to participate in that response team. And they also had the opportunity to earn the NECI, which is a National Basic 911 Dispatch certification in Public Safety 2. And then under Health Sciences education, we have Health Science 1, Health Science 2. They earn First Aid in Health Science 1, and then OSHA, Stop the Bleed, and Basic Life Saving in Health Science 2. And also, with Nursing Fundamentals, they have the opportunity to earn their Nurse Aid 1 certification. If you look on those pathways, in every single one, career management falls as a supplemental course. That is sort of, if they take college courses, they have to take an ACA course through the community college. It's kind of like a freshman seminar course. And if they're not going to take college courses, we have the students take career management. It's soft skills, resumes, that type of thing. So it's kind of comparable to the ACA course. And we have a new course, and it's actually new to the whole state, which is Artificial Intelligence 1. And that is a supplemental course in the computer science pathway. And of course, we also have some CTE classes that are in our middle schools. Agriculture, STEM, Project Lead the Way, Gateway, which is computer science innovators and makers, and woodworking for all the middle schoolers. Did I miss Project Lead the Way?
Yeah,
I did. I skipped right over it. Okay, I was I didn't even talk about that. Another pathway is Project Lead the Way, which we're very excited about. In high school, it is Engineering Essentials. And like I said, in middle school, they're doing the computer science innovators and makers. So, as you know, last year, our health science teacher left in the middle of the year, and we were without a health science teacher for quite some time.
So we worked to make partnerships with some local districts, and we had some things worked out with Hyde County that we would share. We would offer them public safety, and they were offering us some health science classes. So we had it all worked out, and lo and behold, we hired some health science teachers. And we're so happy about that. We are still going to keep our communications open with Hyde County, especially second semester when our public safety classes start. We hope to offer those to the Hyde County students. And for our nursing fundamentals class, we will work with BCCC to offer that certification for our students who wish to gain that nurse aid one. Do you have any questions?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
How do well, I call them internships. I know there's another word for them nowadays, but how do they fit into our CTE program?
Okay, there are opportunities for our students to have internships in any of the program areas that we offer. Our challenge, of course, is placing our students somewhere. The advanced studies option, to earn that major, if you go past a level 2 class, it becomes like a major, like in college. So advanced studies falls under that also, and that involves like a community service project in that pathway area. That's just one of my 2 to 4 year goals, is to increase work-based learning, internship options, job shadowing. That's that magic word. Do you have any other questions?
I was just trying to jot down a lot of notes as you were talking. So can you remind me for the agriculture education, the first one?
It's something like AMSD.1 something. I'm not just familiar with the actual name.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up is our Title I plan at the Getting Teacher Support Plan with Dr. Roseborough and Dr. Wright.
Dr. Wright, you want to give them the behavior support plan? I mean, the beginning teacher support plan. Still got behavior on the brain. See, was my favorite project tonight. Okay, so it's that time of year again. We're getting ready to submit our Title I consolidated plan. And for those of you that don't know, all of our schools in Terrell County Schools is a Title I school district, which means that we get additional funds to provide additional academic support and learning opportunities for our students. The program is helpful and it intends to help all of our students to meet all of the state standards. And the goals of Title I is to increase student achievement, to provide direct instructional support to students, to provide professional development support to teachers, and to promote family and community engagement and improve communication. So what is the Title I consolidated plan? The district has implemented a new district improvement plan after unpacking our 2022 comprehensive needs assessment. At the time of my appointment, October 17, 2023. And throughout the school year, we have gathered data, as Ms. Bridger stated, gathering feedback from all of our stakeholders to address the needs of our students. Stakeholder input was received through the various channels, such as principal and instructional team meetings, the DPI cares team meetings, teacher advisory, student services meetings, parent advisory meetings, Hispanic family community engagement meetings, community listening sessions and focus group meetings, to develop a district ESSER and Title I plans. We had a whole lot of meetings last year. And everybody was wondering, why do we have to have so many meetings? Well, it was a method to the madness. It was because we were gathering the information that we needed to go into our Title I consolidated plan. We recently launched our Title I survey. So to those of you in the audience, we need you to spread the word because the window closes this Friday. We need as many parents as possible to complete the Title I survey because it's been made available digitally. We're going to send out a text message again to make sure all of our parents get an opportunity to participate. The survey is in English and Spanish. We're going to continue our district improvement goals, except once we get our data back from DEI from this past year, we'll have our baseline data, and so these will become SMART goals. So we will be turning goal 1 into a SMART goal after we get our baseline data from this school year about what we would like to increase to for proficiency for reading, math, and science. Creating student-centered learning environments, we are going to identify what type of climate survey we are going to use to measure that. And also establishing clearly defined expectations, processes, procedures to improve communication across our district. So how are we going to use our funds? So this year we've been allotted $217,546. We have total set-asides in play for coordinated services. We also have an amount allocated to Title I schools that will carry over from the previous year. And then our total allocation for schools will include making sure that we supplement, not supplant, staffing, tutoring, supplies and materials, family and community engagement, field trips, and everything must align to school Title I and improvement plan. So rule of thumb, if it doesn't show up in your school improvement plan, it can't show up in the consolidated plan. So school improvement plans drive all the decisions in terms of how your Title I consolidation funds are actually going to be used. So Ms. Simmons has been going back and forth checking plans, making sure that it's accounted for as we've been working on this grant application. So our Title II plans, Ms. Dr. Wright has provided you all with a beginning teacher support plan, and the funds for supporting that plan will be allotted through our Title II funds, which will help with mentor pay, teacher leadership, stipends, and the ECU new teacher support program. Dr. Wright, did you want to elaborate on the support plan?
Oh, so just in regards to the support plan that was updated for this particular school year, just some things in regards to, we just want to keep ourselves updated in regards to, so the form that I submitted during the work session in regards to our BT meetings that we'll have, we have our first one tomorrow. That will be with Rebecca Long. She's also a part of the North Carolina Cares team with Dr. Terry Worrell. So where you'll see the meeting and event schedule, they'll be a part of us in regards to connecting with us. So she'll be able to do deconstruction of standards tomorrow. So we'll have that support. But just in regards to the beginning teachers program, this is 0 to 3 years of experience. We have 10 that's going to have observations from East Carolina program, Department of Education. But then I think we have about 14 with Ms. Spencer starting with us. So we'll have our beginning teachers program throughout the school year. We're going to have hands-on sessions with East Carolina, and then we'll also, our mentor program, I think we have about 7 mentors. We do have to have a training for them, so they will receive information in regards to what the training will be. And then also, we have for our teachers stipends, we have 1 AIG coordinator, we have 4 expanded impact teachers, we have 1 public information officer, we have 1 EC coordinator, we have 1 pre-kindergarten coordinator, and we have 2 advanced teacher roles. So those were, their stipends are being taken out in regards to The yearly amount for these 10 positions totals $53,000.
Then our Title IV funds support the MTSS, professional development, social emotional development, crisis and safety trainings, communication, planning and training for special population programs, ELL, AIG, EC, pre-K, and child nutrition, all call for some type of strategic communication plan to make sure that our community is aware of all of our special programs in the district. So we're working very hard on increasing family and community engagement, providing our families with training programs about these special populations to be able to support them adequately, and also instructional technology needs. So we had, for our current allotment, we received $18,784. We had carryover of $21,080.19 for a total allocation of $39,864.19. So our recommendation is to consider the approval of the 23-24 Title I consolidated. And I did forget to mention, we, in Title III is for our LEP funds for our ELL students. Title III was in a different shell this year. I know you may normally have seen this in the consolidated plan. It's in a different shell. We are in a consortium with other school districts in the Northeast. And so those plans are slowly coming in, and we'll report on that at our next board meeting. Are there any questions?
I make a motion to approve the 23-24 Title I consolidated plan as presented.
Ms. Liverman's made a motion to approve the Title I consolidated plan for 23-24 as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, how do you vote, Mr. Scripture?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Liverman?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Dunbar? And I vote yes. The Title I consolidated plan for 23-24 is approved. Thank you. Next up is the 23-24 testing plan with Dr. Hodges and Ms. Sherry Smith.
I'm here for questions, in case someone has questions. That's what you do.
This is the most exciting part of our presentation. Okay. So testing, our favorite thing. So Ms. Smith, and I have to say, Ms. Smith has been like an immense help with this. So I just want to start with kudos to Ms. Smith for all her behind the scenes work and everything that helped pull this together. The date, yes, let's give her a the dates were determined based on a combination of things. We met with Dr. Roseborough, we looked at the matrix, we talked to administration, and then, of course, the testing window within which it had to fall. So that's pretty much the gist of how we came to these. The WIDA screener has to be performed within the first 30 days of student enrollment. And we have the other testing dates there as well. With the high school, and so each slide is going to focus on the different school levels. These are our high school testing dates proposed. Certainly, depending on student need and weather, these dates could change, but they will stay within these windows. If ever a window falls at the very end of a semester or a term, we certainly want to attempt to get anything made up prior to that very last day, but the window does allow us to go to that date. Let's see. Our middle school dates. We were some of the lucky people chosen to be part of the National Assessment of Educational Progress, the nation's report card test this year. So aren't we so lucky? The NAEP 2024 is going to be with our reading and math in grade 8, and that test date is set for February 12th. And then the other test dates are shown as well. One note, we will be offering summer camps, summer bridge programs at all levels this year to give students a chance to remediate and retest and really continue that progression. Our elementary school dates, and
You know, speaking of adjusting for weather, our Bob will be on Friday. So, just as an example of how that could happen. But we have quite a bit of testing ahead for the elementary school. So, and many thanks to Miss Rebecca Swain and Miss Bridgers and their crew down there. And so, any questions? Concerns?
Busy testing schedule, I think.
It is a busy testing schedule, depending on what level you look at. They all have their, but I think maybe elementary school might have the most this year. Maybe not.
So they need our approval to, for these dates for our test dates for 2023 school year. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion, we approve the testing dates as presented.
Mr. Scripture has made a motion to approve the testing dates as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, how do you vote, Mr. Scripture?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Liverman?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Dunbar? And I vote yes, the testing dates are approved for the 23-24 school year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is our SRO contract with Dr. Lynch.
That time of year again for us to renew our SRO contract for the upcoming school year, for the 23-24 school year, for the amount of $46,000. It will include uniform. The board will pay $500 for uniform, training at $500, and transportation costs not to exceed 40 gallons per month. We also provide the weapon and radio to the SRO. We do currently have an SRO as well at the elementary school. Not there. Are there any questions about the SRO? For Terrell Elementary School, the total cost of the resource officer will be $43,000. Again, the uniform is included, training, transportation costs, as well, and the radio.
Are there any questions about the 23-24 SRO contracts? We need to consider approval of these renewals.
I make a motion, we approve the SRO contracts for middle school, high school, and the elementary school.
Mr. Scripture made a motion to approve the SRO contract for 23-24 at the middle school, high school, and CES as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, how do you vote, Mr. Scripture?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Liverman?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Dunbar? And I vote yes, the SRO contracts for 23-24 are approved at both campuses. Next up is our policies. And we have several policies to be considered for first reading. Just to let you know, these are coming out of the session law, the North Carolina General Assembly that just created SR 114A entitled The Parents' Bill of Rights. This is a new requirement that went into effect on August 16th and applies beginning with the 23-24 school year. The 7 policies are 1310/4002, which is parental involvement. Policy 3210, parental inspection of and objection to instructional materials. Policy 3540, comprehensive health education program. Policy 4335, criminal behavior. Policy 4720, surveys of students. Policy 6120, student health services. And policy 7300, staff responsibilities. What the pleasure of the board is to consider approval of these policies on first reading. before we make a motion, I would like to ask that, to you, is there any way to have our staff and your administration team make sure that these fit in with Carroll County's policies and how we're gonna, implement things, because these are massive changes for our district, I believe, and we're viewing some of them, so we ask that on the next reading, the next council, we approve these of them.
So the pleasure of the board is for us to review and share with the public what our plan for implementation of the parent rights bill. So at our next board meeting, as well as at our work session, we will be sharing documents that we will be sharing with the public about the notification about the parent rights bill, as well as how Terrell County Schools will implement the process. And I want to also defer to Dr. Hodges. Dr. Hodges, is there anything else that I missed that we would do? I think I talked about the opt-out.
The opt-out, principal's response, the sharing of information as well, is changing. If there's students speak to some controversial topic, just really making it much more transparent. I focus on transparency in communication with parents and involving them, which I feel like Terrell County Schools is really making strides in that already before the, so, but we can have that ready for the next work session.
And then to our parent advisory representatives, just so they are aware that we're gonna go in depth with the code of conduct, and we will also go in depth with the parent rights bill. That'll be two meetings back to back. For parent advisory, just to guide and be sure you have those questions. We know that all parents are gonna have similar questions and concerns.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion, we approve the policies for first reading.
Mr. Scripture has made a motion to approve the policies for first reading. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, how do you vote, Mr. Scripture?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Silverman?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Gibbs? Yes. How do you vote, Ms. Dunbar? And I vote yes. The policies are approved on first reading. There's nothing under other tonight. That brings us to the superintendent's report.
Just give you a brief report, because everyone has stated something that I had for my report. Budget postponed, we're still waiting. Parent rights bill, you know about that, hot off the presses, and we're gonna continue to do some work on that during the work session. And then the Title I survey, please get the word out that we need for parents to complete that survey by this Friday. And good news is that we will have our district vehicle tomorrow in preparation for some of our staff members that have to travel across the state to the western part of the state for conferences. At least they will have comfort in knowing that they'll get there safely. So thank you for that. We are important on that.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Dr. Roseberg this evening?
I know that we had this scores from last year would be in fall, and I'm sure we're itching to share them released, because I know that some amazing work has been done, and I want to make sure
They will be released tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow, so we're just waiting. After 11 o'clock, Dr. Ross.
That's what we
After
said.
11 o'clock.
Okay, that's exciting.
Yeah. Did our press
It's gonna lock up on us tomorrow, trying to get our scores and read them.
I'm gonna take that profile.
Is there any,
very pretty color.
is there any other? Any other questions? Anything else good for the order? I'd just like to remind everybody the board meets again on Wednesday, September 20th at 5:30 p.m. for our monthly work session. Then our next monthly board meeting will be the first Tuesday in October, which is October 3rd. Hearing nothing, is there a motion to adjourn?
I was waiting for him to get out of A. Motion to
I didn't miss all that. Ms. Gibbs has made a motion to adjourn. How do you vote, Mr. Scripture?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Silverman? Yes. How do you vote, Ms. Gibbs? How do you vote, Ms. Dunbar? And I vote yes. We are now adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
You didn't have to sit, Carolyn? No budget. No budget.